I want you to picture a nightmare. A very specific, very frustrating nightmare.
Okay.
You're in a race, and not just, a jog. You're sprinting. Your lungs are burning, legs are pumping. You are absolutely in the zone.
Right.
You can see the finish line. But then, every 10 feet, bam, a giant red metal gate just slams down in front of you.
I feel like I live that nightmare every Tuesday at about 2 p.m.
Right. And you have to stop dead. All that momentum, just gone. You catch your breath, you wait. Eventually, a guy in a very nice suit comes out. He slowly looks at your shoes. He checks your bib number. He hums and haws. He stamps a piece of paper in triplicate. And only then does the gate open.
That is painfully specific.
It is. And the worst part is once the gate opens, you have to start sprinting again from a complete standstill.
Oh, the energy burn.
You burn all this energy getting back up to speed. The wind is finally in your hair again, and bam!
Yeah.
Another gate. Another guy in a suit. Another form.
I assume this isn't just you working through some deep-seated personal trauma on air.
No. It's a metaphor. But it is the exact visceral feeling of trying to do high-speed intelligent work in a modern company. We have these incredible tools. We have AI. We have agile teams ready to fly.
And then we hit the approval queue.
Exactly. The weekly review board. The compliance check that takes 3 days just to schedule. It's like trying to drive a Formula One car through a school zone during dismissal.
That's a very vivid way to put it. But you're hitting on a fundamental tension that, it defines the current moment in tech. We've built systems capable of incredible speed and adaptation, especially with AI. But we are managing them with governance structures from, the 1950s?
Exactly. And that mismatch is why I am so excited about the stack of papers we're wading through today. We're doing a deep dive into adaptive governance, intelligence over rigid control.
Right. And to place this in context for everyone listening, this isn't just some random white paper. This is coming from the AI Agile Manifesto project. It's a massive undertaking. We're looking at material from day 35 of a 365-day journey.
Which is wild in itself, a year-long project. But today, our focus is specifically on Value 5. The headline is, Adapting with Intelligence Over Following Rigid Plans.
It sounds simple on the surface, doesn't it? Be flexible.
Sure, everyone says that.
But when you actually dig into the source material here, especially the reflections from the authors, it's not just about flexibility or being agile in the, buzzword sense. It's about a complete architectural shift in how we think about control.
So the mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. We aren't saying burn the rule book or let chaos reign. I don't think anyone wants AI systems running around without any supervision.
Not at all. That's a recipe for disaster.
But we are trying to figure out why traditional control, the guys in the suits at the gates, why that fails when you're dealing with intelligent systems, and more importantly, what adaptive governance actually looks like. Because I think a lot of you listening want to move faster, but you're terrified of crashing.
That is the core fear. And frankly, it's a valid one if you're using the wrong kind of brakes. So if you're ready, I think we need to start by unpacking this paradox of control.
Let's do it. So, looking at the first couple of posts here, post 29 and 30, the authors start with a really basic question. Why do we even have these approvals and reviews in the first place?
Well, historically, they serve a very noble purpose. They aren't there just to annoy you. They're there to protect delivery.
Yeah.
Ensure safety.
Right. To prevent you from shipping a broken product or losing customer data or breaking the law.
Exactly. The guy in the suit at the gate is trying to keep you safe. He's the safety inspector.
Okay.
But here's the catch the source material highlights. That model works for predictable systems. If you're building a bridge, you want rigid plans. You want to check the concrete mixture before you pour it because, well, once you pour it, you can't unpour it.
Concrete is famously hard to edit. Control-Z doesn't work on a bridge.
Right. But AI and modern software development, they aren't building bridges. They are intelligent work. The material makes a huge distinction here. Intelligent work learns. It evolves.
So the requirements you had on Monday might be obsolete by Friday?
Exactly. Because the AI learned something new or user behavior shifted. And when systems learn and change continuously, fixed rules don't protect the flow. They actually block it.
There's this great image in the text of the waiting room. I think we have all been there. You've done the work, the code is ready, the idea is solid, and now you're just sitting in the waiting room of an approval queue.
Well, opportunities just pass you by.
It's so painful. You can physically feel the momentum draining out of the team. But the source material points at a hidden cost here, too. The context switching.
Oh, absolutely. If you have to park a project for a week to wait for a committee to meet, your brain just dumps the context. When you pick it back up, you aren't just restarting, you're relearning. You have to download that whole mental state again. It's incredibly inefficient.
And the source argues this waiting room creates a false sense of safety. We think, oh, it's in review, so it's safe. But actually, while it's sitting there, the market is moving, the data is changing.
And your team is losing their edge. The code is actually rotting while it waits.
That brings us to the timing mismatch, which I found fascinating in post-30. We're operating in a world where signals, data, user feedback, AI performance, they evolve daily.
Or hourly. Or minutely.
Right. But governance, that usually reacts, what, weekly? Monthly?
It's a huge lag. It reminds me of those old strategy games where you give an order, but it takes 10 turns for the unit to actually move.
That is terrifying.
It is. Imagine trying to drive a car on a highway, but you only get to look out the windshield once every 10 seconds.
You would crash. Instantly.
Of course.
Yeah.
But that is how we manage projects.
Yeah.
We rely on a monthly business review to steer a project that changes every single day. The source points out that oversight arriving after decisions are made is already too late. It's an autopsy, not a diagnosis.
And there's a psychological component to this, too, which really resonated with me. When you have that lag, when the feedback comes way after the work is done, it doesn't feel like guidance.
No, it feels like policing.
Exactly. The tech says it damages trust. It makes the team feel like they're being watched, not supported. It creates this gotcha culture.
Think about it. If I come to you while you're working and say, hey, watch out for that pothole up ahead, I'm a helpful guide. You appreciate that.
I'd say thanks. I'd buy you a coffee.
But if I wait until you hit the pothole, damage the suspension, ruin the tires, and then I walk up with a clipboard a week later and say, you know, per section 4, paragraph B, you really should have avoided that pothole. What am I?
You're a bureaucrat and probably not my favorite person.
Precisely. And that dynamic destroys the psychological safety of a team. They stop trying to innovate because they're afraid of the post-fact audit. They start designing for the approval board, not for the user.
They optimize for not getting yelled at rather than creating value.
That's it, exactly.
So if we agree that the guy in the suit at the gate approach is broken for intelligent work, that it kills momentum and destroys trust, what replaces it? Because the natural reaction is usually, well, we can't just trust them blindly. We have stakeholders, regulations.
And this is where we get into the meat of the solution. Post 31 tackles this head on. There is a huge misconception that trust means the absence of rules.
Do whatever you want. I trust you. Here are the keys to the production server.
Right. That's not trust. That's negligence. The expert in the source material, Naga, clarifies that trust isn't the absence of governance. It is governance transformed.
Okay. Transformed how?
It shifts from permission to, well, to intent and visibility.
All right, let's unpack that. Intent and visibility.
The argument is if a team's intent is clear, meaning everyone knows why we're doing this and what the goal is, and if the signals are visible, meaning we can all see the data and the progress in real time, then you don't need a manager hovering over every keystroke.
So it's less about mother may I and more about here's where I'm going, watch me go.
Exactly. But this relies on that visibility part being real. It can't be some weekly status report that you massage to look good.
It has to be real data, the raw signal,
Yeah.
transparent dashboards, open repositories, no hiding the mess.
Yes. And this leads to my favorite concept in this entire deep dive, the distinction between approvals and guardrails. This is from Post 32.
I love this distinction. It feels so practical, so break it down for us.
Okay, an approval is a gate. You stop, you ask permission, you wait. It blocks flow by definition. It's binary stop or go.
The red light of my nightmare.
The red light. A guardrail is different. Think of a winding mountain highway. There are guardrails on the side of the road. Do you have to stop at the guardrail?
No, I just drive.
Do you have to ask the guardrail for permission to change lanes?
No.
But does the guardrail make you safer?
Infinitely safer, especially if there is a cliff edge there.
Exactly. You actually keep moving faster because you know where the edges are. You know that if you veer too far left, the guardrail will catch you.
That is a massive shift in mindset. Approvals make you stop. Guardrails let you go fast because you know you won't fall off the cliff.
It completely changes the speed equation. The source says guardrails replace waiting with responsible decision-making.
Oh.
Teams move faster, not because they're reckless, but because they don't fear every single decision. They know the safe zone.
And I imagine this works well for compliance, too. Instead of a person checking your work at the end, maybe the guardrail is an automated test that runs every time you save your code.
Yes, that's a perfect example. If the code breaks a security rule, the automated guardrail bumps you back immediately. You fix it in the moment and keep moving. You don't wait 3 weeks for a security audit to tell you failed.
Instantaneous feedback. Okay, it sounds great, but I have to play devil's advocate here. And honestly, the host in me is naturally a bit skeptical. We're talking about AI, complex, non-deterministic systems. Speed is great, but speed into a brick wall is bad.
Very bad.
So if we remove the human approvals, if we take away the red lights, things get dangerous.
You're absolutely right to ask that. Speed for speed's sake is just crashing faster, and the source material anticipates this. In Post 33, they discuss the danger of speed.
Good. I'm glad they aren't ignoring it.
They introduce a concept called silent drift.
Ooh, that sounds ominous. Silent drift. Sounds like a horror movie title.
It is a bit scary. It's what happens when you have speed without ethics or proper monitoring. It's not usually one big explosion. It's small, incremental decisions.
Like a ship drifting off course 1 degree at a time.
Exactly. You think you're heading north, but small biases in the data, slight misalignments in the model, tiny shortcuts in the code, they all accumulate. Suddenly, you're miles away from your destination, or worse, you've built something that violates your core values.
So death by 1,000 cuts. Or drifting into unethical territory without even realizing it until it's too late.
Precisely. And the traditional way to stop this is the audit, the review board. But as we established, that happens too late. If you catch silent drift 3 months later, the damage is already done.
So how does adaptive governance fix silent drift if we aren't stopping to check?
By embedding ethics into the execution phase, not the review phase.
What does that look like practically? Because embedding ethics sounds a bit like a corporate buzzword.
It means using the AI and the data signals to monitor for drift while the work is happening. It's the difference between checking your blood pressure once a year at the doctor versus wearing a smartwatch that alerts you the second your heart rate spikes.
Ah, I see. So ethics checked late is damage control. You're just cleaning up the mess.
Right, but ethics monitored live, that is care. It allows you to correct the course before the crash happens. You catch the drift when it's just 1 degree off, not 50 degrees off.
That really connects back to the idea of the guardrail. The guardrail is there while you drive. It's not a policeman reviewing footage of your crash a week later.
That is the perfect connection. And this brings us to the synthesis in Post 34. The source talks about pattern recognition. When you look at all these reflections together, control, trust, guardrails, ethics, a pattern emerges.
And what's the pattern?
Rigid control slows intelligence down. It bottlenecks it. Adaptive governance unlocks safe speed.
Safe speed. That's the holy grail, isn't it? Everyone wants to go fast. Nobody wants to break things.
It is. And the secret sauce, according to the manifesto, is the role of AI signals. We finally have the technology to have live oversight. We can use AI to monitor risks, code quality, and even bias drift in real time.
So the manager's job shifts. They aren't the gatekeepers anymore. They aren't the guy stamping the paper. They're the air traffic controller.
That's a good analogy. Or even better, the race engineer. Think about Formula One again. The driver is driving. They have the autonomy, the hands on the wheel. But the engineer is watching the telemetry wall.
The engineer sees the data the driver can't see.
Exactly. The engineer is saying, hey, your tire temp is getting high, ease off, or you have a clear track, push now. They aren't driving the car, but they are providing the governance that allows the car to win.
I like that. The race engineer wants the driver to win. The gatekeeper just wants the driver to stop.
Exactly. The payoff, as the source puts it, is that when intent is clear and oversight is continuous and trust is real, governance actually accelerates work rather than slowing it down.
That is a bold claim. Governance accelerating work. Most people think of governance as the brakes.
But good brakes allow you to drive faster, don't they? You wouldn't drive 100 miles per hour in a car with no brakes. You'd drive 20 because you'd be terrified.
And that actually makes perfect sense. I'd be terrified to speed up if I didn't trust my ability to stop or steer.
Right. Adaptive governance gives you the confidence to floor it.
Okay, so we're sold on the concept. The theory holds up, but I want to make sure our listeners can actually do something with this. We can't just tell them, be a race engineer and sign off. The source provides a section on practical integration. Let's walk through the steps.
Okay, so they outline 3